Welcome back to our third episode of Peak, Train Like a Girl. We're a podcast by female athletes and coaches for female athletes and coaches. We're here to amplify your voice because it deserves to be heard. At Peak, our mission is to empower female athletes and coaches with knowledge, resources, and support necessary to thrive in today's athletic environment. We want you to join us for bold conversations about experiences of female athletes. Our discussions will make you laugh, cry, cheer, get frustrated, and hopefully rethink the future of girls in sports for generations. So whether you're walking, commuting, or cleaning your bedroom, take us with you. Follow us, check out our website, consider making a donation, and share us with a female athlete or coach you love. Now, I'm super excited to introduce you to our next guest. You learned a little bit about her last week because she's one of my fabulous interns. She's actually responsible for the podcast you're listening to. It's been super fun getting to know Megan through the jump in and trying to figure it out of podcast life, something new to both of us, but I think we're both handling it in stride. And I think that has a lot to do with some of the experiences Megan has had through high school and college athletics. Megan played a variety of sports growing up. She swam her freshman year of high school and then switched to club swimming for 3 years. She was recruited by her junior year of high school, had 4 official visits, and ended up at the University of Kentucky through some issues with COVID and a couple Title IX issues. You'll get to know a little bit more about that throughout the podcast. But I don't want to take any more time away from Megan. So I'm going to have her come in and we are going to get all warmed up. You ready, Megan?
Hello, yes.
Awesome. All right, let's warm it up. Beach or mountain?
Beach.
Winter or summer?
Definitely summer.
Podcast or movie?
Podcast, of course.
Cake or cookie?
Ooh, definitely cake.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
I love it. Well, I'm so glad you're warmed up and you're ready to go. Now we can ask all the hard questions. So I gave a super brief introduction of you, and I know people learned a little bit about you in the podcast last week, but I'm super intrigued that something you wanted to share is that you played a variety of sports growing up. And I think that's super important for all athletes, in particular female athletes. So share with us a little bit about why you feel that was an important part of your growing up.
Absolutely. I was kind of taught that by my parents as well, just to, go out and give everything a try. So I played basketball, volleyball, softball, ran track. I had the opportunity to meet so many different people my age, older, younger, and I feel like that's kind of what taught me how to be a leader, how to work with different people, how to understand other people's challenges that are different from my own. So through many years of sport, I feel like that is just the best way to learn so many important lessons that I can use for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I really appreciate you talking about that. Do you think there was any benefit to having a variety of sports as it related to, injury, burnout, like something physical as opposed to mental, emotional?
Yes, definitely. I feel as though not sticking with just one sport for so long has led me to be able to continue to swim for so long, just because I had the opportunity to switch between being in a pool versus being on a field, being on a track. So I feel like that definitely had a high correlation, and something that I'm super grateful and thankful for that I had the opportunity to do for so many years.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I really appreciate you saying that. One of the things that has me a little concerned, specifically with young female athletes, is the over specialization at such a young age.
Yes.
I do think it puts them at increased risk for injury and burnout.
I could not agree more.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said that. I try to encourage, I coach cross country. I think you knew that. And one of the things I really try to do is encourage our basketball players and our soccer players who are all super gifted athletes where I happen to coach. They end up going to very established programs in college. And I just wish they would come and run cross country just to have the socialization atmosphere,
Right.
not be under so much pressure and just to challenge their body in a different way.
I agree. I think that's very important. I'm so glad that you're sharing that advice. I think that even the things that I stated about the mental positives, the
Uh-huh.
physical aspects are even so much more important.
Yeah. And the other thing that's super interesting, and I think I know swimming is different depending on what state you're in. The other
Mhm.
thing I say about cross country, particularly for like a basketball player or a swimmer where we are in the Midwest, it gets them outside where they're normally in a gym, right?
Right.
So yeah. And I think and that's another benefit, right? That,
Absolutely.
exposure to nature is the benefit.
Yes, I
Yeah.
see a very large difference in myself when I get to train outside versus inside. So that is a very big
Yeah.
benefit.
Yeah, I love that. So I love that we kind of circled around those three things. All right, let's talk a little bit about your high school experience. So, and as a coach, I have an opinion about this. So I want to talk to you about this. So you spent 1 year with your
Yeah.
high school and then you made the decision to swim club. So a couple things. I want you to talk to me about that decision, why you did it. And then I also want you to be honest and let me know if that affected your social life at all in high school.
For sure. Yes. So my freshman year of high school, I, am a big believer of just, give everything a try. So went in August, it started our high school swim team and met a bunch of girls on the team, met the coaches, and I did have a great year. We went to conference and then sectionals and then state, which ended up being in Madison, Wisconsin. It was great. It was very competitive, but specifically in my area where I'm from, it was not the conference itself was not super competitive or
Got it.
I just feel like there was just an overall lack of information about the sport. So following my freshman year, I just decided to stick with club from which I had already been doing for many years. So I just said, we're going to do solely club. But I do know like there are other areas in Wisconsin, such as Madison, very competitive, very well-known high schools for specifically swimming. So the
Right.
club was mainly based off of just the how competitive my conference was and just more overall opportunity. I was able to travel to more meets, to hopefully have the opportunity to get recruited. So it was a
Sure.
great experience and I don't regret anything about it, but just moving forward, it was the best decision for me.
Nice. Did it impact your social life in high school?
Not too bad. I would say I definitely saw a lot of the same girls on my team just throughout the day in classes. And then a couple of them were still on my club team, but we were all spread out through a bunch of different high schools. So
Okay.
a lot. So that was one thing that, I was grateful for, but I would say not a huge part.
Nice. And so let's just stick around this for just a little bit. Did you feel like you were a well-rounded high school student, meaning you had a social life, you were on different clubs, you had different social networks, or do you feel like your high school experience was completely around swimming?
I definitely feel like it was more well-rounded, which was something that I loved about my club coach, my club experience, because I was still had the opportunity to do all of those other things that you just mentioned. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it was definitely well-rounded.
And do you think that's important for high school athletes?
Definitely, yes. I think just as we touched on before, that balance of,
Yeah.
not playing a bunch of different sports, but having other things that you're passionate and, work hard at can really be beneficial just to day-to-day life.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think that's right. All right. So let's talk I do want to kind of focus in because I know you had a little different recruiting experience just because of some things with, COVID and Title IX. I want to talk about that. But before we do that, because I know we have high school athletes listening. I know we have coaches listening. Let's talk a little bit about the recruiting process because I do think people get a little stuck in this. I think some of it is there's misinformation out there. I think some of it is high school coaches aren't necessarily that equipped to help kids through the recruiting process. Maybe club coaches are better equipped.
Mhm.
But talk to me a little bit about the recruiting process, how much time and energy you think it did take or should take, and what you think would add value to a high school athlete.
Absolutely. So my process started, it initially opened up June 15th of my junior year.
Okay.
So going into my junior year, sorry. And that summer I'd spent a lot of time on the phone coordinating emails into phone calls, text messages, just getting to know people for many weeks. And then once it hit end of August and September is when they start to invite you on official visits. So that's when I started to having to plan between missing a certain practice, missing a meet
Got
to
it.
visit a certain school. So I would say an initial stressor was just having to, handle these phone calls and not ever really having that serious of a phone call before.
Right. That's true.
I
It's not
know,
like,
right?
where are we going for dinner tonight? It's like,
Exactly,
that's
exactly.
hilarious.
And then all of a sudden, it's just like, oh my goodness, I'm really being interviewed here. I mean, as much as you want it to be a good fit for yourself, they want to be adding a great fit to their team. So
You're both interviewing each other.
exactly, exactly. So throughout the summer, it was tough, but also really exciting
Nice.
to get to meet all these different coaches and hear, what their philosophies were about certain things, what their number one goal and thing was for each team had a little bit of a different thing, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
as I headed into the fall was when I started to take those actual official visits. And once again, you're missing school and you got to plan when you're missing, certain practices and meets. So
Sure.
that was definitely a stressful part of it, but I would say it was also very exciting and it was a very, very large motivator because you go and you get to meet all these girls and they tell you their story and the coaches are telling you their story and you go back and you're like, wow, I really want to be like them. So
Right.
it was also very motivating.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, let's fast forward a little. So, I want you to kind of tell in your own words. So you originally committed to University Kentucky, is that right?
Well, my junior year, I ended up committing to University of Iowa after the fall.
Okay,
And then
that's right.
through COVID and some financial cuts during that time. They ended up cutting 4 different sports here. So
Yeah,
swimming and diving for both the men's and women's side was one of them. So that
got
kind
it.
of left me in a little bit of a chaotic situation. So Kentucky ended up contacting me again and was wondering if I was still interested. So then that's where I went for my freshman and sophomore year.
Got it.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit. You ended up leaving there because the experience was not what you felt was best for you. So would you mind filling us in a little there?
For sure. I think the general adjustment period my freshman year, just realizing how much time management and a time commitment it all was going to be an adjustment anywhere, but there were
Sure.
certain aspects that I thought weren't as well taken care of as they could have been, such as things like just overall nutrition and recovery, especially as it relates to the very long hours that you participate in as a college athlete, obviously, and
Yeah,
pretty much all of the sports that are offered. So
sure.
many things like that just, built up through the 2 years. And I finally just came to a point where I was not feeling like it was benefiting my body, my mental or my physical state. So it was taking a
Yeah,
large toll on both those aspects. So that's when I decided that it was time to make a change.
yeah. So I don't want, and again, I want to be super respectful of you and your boundaries, but we are here to educate, girls and females on, the hazards of overtraining, undernourishing.
Absolutely.
Can you fill us in a little more there? Like what that looked like? Did people come to your aid? Did people come to you and say, hey, Megan, you're looking run down or you look like you're low energy? Was there any conversation around that?
Not from who I would have expected it to come from. That was more from family and friends. But
Oh,
at the actual university and, in athletic training rooms, that was never really a topic. It was more of a, let's keep going. Let's keep working hard. This is college athletics. This is just kind of how it goes. So that was definitely a big disappointment to see that, because through those 2 years, I definitely was very fatigued, and I did end up losing my period for both of the years that I was there. So that was definitely a big factor that I didn't realize was such a big deal, and until I had the chance to look back and reflect.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah. And, it's interesting because in our introduction, we talk about, let's take the period talk out of the dark and put it in the locker rooms, put it in the high school. Do you think that if you would have been better informed as a high school athlete of things that to watch out for, like missing a period or low energy availability or fatigue, do you think you would have been better equipped to have harder conversations with the training staff and coaches at Kentucky?
100%. That was something that I just overall had such a lack of information on, and I could have, faced right away within the first 6 months I was there, but I just did not even know that there was a problem.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. So I could not, yes, 100% to that question.
Yeah. And that's kind of how you and I ended up here together.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're passionate now about sharing this information and education and getting this information to high school athletes. So at an earlier age, so they're able to have a voice and have a conversation. Yeah, I really appreciate that about you, that you took your experience there. And there were two things that happened. You understood when it was time to get out, which was super interesting. And the other thing is you understood that if you would have had better information, you could have made better decisions sooner.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So fast forward just a little, you ended up back at the University of Iowa where, originally you were supposed to be.
Yes.
And are things different, better? Are there more conversations surrounding nutrition, periods, low energy availability?
Yes, definitely things are so much better. Within the first, 4 or 5 weeks I was here in the summer, because I'd come early after I transferred, there were so many different conversations that I had that I was like, wow, I didn't know this was, how it was supposed to be. Just general check-ins about your health, how you're feeling, how a certain practice even went for you. So definitely yes to that question. There's just such a higher focus on, physically how you're feeling, but then also we will have a lot of team meetings to talk about how we're feeling as a team, things, we can do to improve, but also just, being honest with ourselves and, having tougher conversations for sure. So definitely a large difference, but in a very positive way.
Yeah. Is your period back?
Yes. That was a great change as well.
Yeah. And here's the thing about the period thing. Like, if we're going to be honest, it's when we don't have it, which unfortunately enough female athletes have been through. I've been through it. You've been through it. It's kind of convenient. Like you run or you swim, I run. Like it's kind of convenient. But when you don't realize the toll that it's taking on your bones, on your muscles, on your reproductive health, on your hair. I was like losing my hair. The stuff that you don't realize. And those are the physical things that are happening. And what you don't realize is that you don't even have the energy then to perform at your capability.
Right. Which obviously after all of the health, there was a very, large factor of the performance that was missing. And I didn't know what's going on. What does that even mean? Which the answer from that situation that I was in was to obviously train harder. So it was just this, you know, that tough cycle of just, yeah,
Vicious, right?
yes, a
Yeah.
very vicious cycle. But I couldn't agree more. What you don't know, you just don't know. Because at first I was like, wow, that's weird, and I wonder why that happened. But you know, I'm fine with it. It is
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah, it
I
is,
know.
right? And like that's a terrible thing to say, but it
Right,
is true, right?
right,
And
right,
the
and
interesting thing about that too, with the menstrual cycle specifically related to performance,
hmm
is there is a small period of time where performance may improve, like, and so
hmm
then there's not necessarily the correlation, but with women, within a relatively short period of time, performance either really plateaus,
hmm
or does start to decline. I mean, you're not getting better. And that's one of the things too that I wish that we could really, that
hmm
education piece early, is that if we can get kids through girls through that puberty period where, listen, it stinks. Can we just call it
hmm
out? It sucks. Like, it
Yeah.
does. It's like, especially in high school, like it's inconsistent because you're still just trying to figure things out and, you're uncomfortable and
Right.
whatever comes along with it. But if we can get people to get to the other end of puberty when things and hormones do start to, settle in again, you
hmm
do perform more optimally. But the problem is that when we postpone that puberty piece because we are not menstruating, then performance also stops. Like, and so
Right.
I wish I could get young girls to just listen, like just hang in for that short period of time, that 6 months, to a year period. And if you can
Mhm.
get past that, those hormones actually going to help you perform better.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, that just, again, I'm just re-emphasizing the point of there are just so many things along those lines, specifically that piece of information that I just think would have been so beneficial to hear in high school, no
Yeah,
matter what sport, just like we've said.
I
And
agree.
even that along with, other things that are often overlooked, such as, just the importance of even just sleeping, your diet,
Wait,
recovery.
oh, yeah, you're so right.
So just
Rest, recover, restore, man.
exactly, exactly.
All
So
my favorite R words. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been, we're lucky here, everybody, because Megan obviously is running the podcast. So we will get the pleasure of checking in with her again. But are you ready for your cool down?
absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Your favorite pump me up song.
Oh my gosh, I'm kind of a weirdo for this, but before my
Love,
races and, big things, I actually don't listen to music.
love,
I'm just with
love it.
myself.
Good for you. I like it. Okay. What about when you're not performing athletically? What's your go-to music?
Okay, definitely country. Yes, I'm a big country fan.
Love it. All right. Okay. Food you wish was portable enough to eat on a bus or after practice.
Ooh, after practice? Okay, I might have to say on a bus after a meet, I wish I could just have like a really good ice cream sundae that's still cold, just waiting for me.
Love it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people to be like, yeah, I want like stew with warm bread. Like, I love that. Ice cream sundae. I love it. Vanilla or chocolate ice cream, by the way.
Vanilla.
Me too. Me too. Okay. Best or worst advice a coach or a teammate has ever given you?
Ooh, best or worst advice? This is a tough one.
I know.
I would say, I've definitely gotten a lot of great advice. Recently, I feel like my coaches and I have been just talking a lot about, just enjoy what you're doing. This is fun. So put us like before a race, when I'm sometimes thinking about things that I can't control, just bringing it back and saying, this is what you like to do. This is a fun sport. So let's just smile and enjoy what we're doing. We have a great opportunity. So let's just go out and see what we can do. Just anything along those lines.
I love that. I really like that. Okay. If you're going to have 5 people you can invite to a dinner party, who are they?
5 people. Oh my goodness. Ooh. Let's see. I'm gonna have to start with my mom.
Love that. I'm going
Always
to
fun
meet
to
your
meet
mom.
you. My favorite country artist right now is Zach Bryan. He's great.
So fun.
The most random dinner party ever. Wow.
I love it.
I'm gonna have to go with Michael Jordan. I think he's a great athlete. Oh my gosh. Well, how many am I at?
You're 3.
Okay. Missy Franklin, a Olympic backstroker. Great.
Yeah.
Runner. Always been a big fan of her. And then my last one. Oh my gosh. Can I say you? I feel like you.
Sure. Oh my gosh, I'd be honored. I can't wait.
I know. That's so
Put it on the calendar. Okay, your favorite female athlete. And you can repeat this one if you need to.
Okay. I think I'm going to have to say Missy Franklin actually again.
Yeah.
Also started a great podcast that I think has some really interesting and, great stories specific to swimming, but then also just about, kind of what we're talking about, just female athletes and, the challenges that they face.
I love that. Maybe we can get her as a guest.
Oh my gosh, that would be so awesome.
Would that be something? Would that be on your bucket list?
Yes, I might have to reach out to her right after.
We're totally going to reach out to her. All right. And then last, what do you want to leave our audience with? Like if you were going to talk to, your 15-year-old high school swim team again, what advice would you give them?
This is such a great question. I would say for me that, when I was that age and I was, 15, 16, starting to really take my sport seriously, I think that if someone would have just, had a conversation of being more open to learning more information and learning about things that could better me as not only an athlete, but as a person too. So information like this and just being open to more ideas and just information in general and really reflecting on what I actually thought was important to myself. Yeah. Because if I look back now, the things that I was looking for, they weren't the same. So I would say probably those two things.
All right. I wasn't going to ask you, but this just came from the conversation because now I'm just curious. Do you think high school athletics athletic directors, high school athletics, high school coaches are going to be receptive to the information we think is important for high school athletes to hear?
Oh man. I really, really, really would hope so and would like to think so, but kind of like you touched on in your intro, I still feel like there's those, handful of people that want to keep this sort of information, not as much talked about because sometimes it can be uncomfortable or change your ways of some sort. But I'm very hopeful, so I'm going to say yes.
All right. I love it. I love it. I love the optimism. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to get to know you a little better. I hope that all the young female athletes and all the coaches out there that have listened to this take some of this wisdom with them. I'm so excited to have you as part of our team. I'm really, really, really looking forward to working with you and seeing you blossom in this position alongside all the other things that you are accomplishing. One of the things on my bucket list is I want to come see you swim this year. I think I told you my husband went to the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
So that's on my bucket list. We've been there to see a women's basketball game and a men's basketball game. Now I want to go see a swim meet. So it's on my bucket list. So you'll have to get me a guest pass to come in.
Absolutely. We would love to have you. That would be so awesome.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks again, you guys, for tuning in to Peak Train Like a Girl. Make sure you like, follow, review, and make sure you share with a female athlete